Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our Winning Wednesday segment. This is Winning Wednesday, and we are so glad that you decided to join us. We bring you greetings from Birmingham Bible Church worldwide, from wherever you are. we just like to thank you for joining us on today. And so, as I said before, this is our Winning Wednesday segment. And every Wednesday at 12 noon, we like to do just a lot of things. But the main thing is we want to declare that you are a winner. We like to declare that you have the victory no matter what it looks like. You have the victory over your finances, over your health, over your relationship. And so we just like to take this time to thank God for giving us the victory, but also to encourage one another that we can continue to have the victory in Jesus Christ our Lord. And so if you are new to this segment, we use this time to empower you, to educate you on current topics, topics that maybe you knew very little about, or topics you want more information about. But we are in this together. And so if you could do us a favor, if you can share this on Facebook, if you can share this on YouTube, don't forget we are on YouTube as BHAMBC. We are on Twitter at tcowi.org. And we are now on Instagram under Dr. J.H.M. the third, and that's 3 I's. So we are now on Instagram under Dr. Dr. J.H.M. and then 3 I's for the third. And so it is the month of June. It is Men's Awareness Month. This is a month we celebrate all dads. So happy pre-Father's Day to everyone. And so since it is Men's Awareness Month, we want to take some time to raise the awareness for men, to really get them to do checkups, to exercise, to be healthy, because it's been said, and it's sad to say, that statistically, on an average, men die earlier than women. There's higher rates not only for death, but higher rates for disease. And so we want men to take control of their health. We want them to be leaders, but not leaders in sickness or in death. And so the men are leaders of our home. So we want to take care of them, make sure they're right. And so, of course, we had to call on our dear friend, Miss Rochelle Wallace. She is with the O'Neill Comprehensive Cancer Center right here in Alabama. And so she's going to cover this topic. She is very well educated and very well capable of doing this. And so listen, I need all my men to make sure you're paying attention. Women, I need you to make sure you share this with a man in your life. Share this with your male co-workers. Just share it with all men so that they can get this information as well. And so I would like to introduce to everyone Miss Rochelle Wallace. Hey, Miss Rochelle.
Well, hello, Lady Pam. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you? Thank you for doing this again for us.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. I appreciate the opportunity. We
Yeah.
really deeply appreciate partnerships within the community that allow us these opportunities to really get out there and engage. And so since COVID and through the pandemic, we have just been enlightened to just the wonderful world of virtual education. And it's really worked out to be quite beneficial, so we really do appreciate these opportunities to share.
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you so much for this. I know you are super busy. I know you're busy what you're doing, and then you take your time out to do this for us as well. So thank you for partnering with us as we continue, to partner with you in any way we can to get vital information out. So tell us what's going on in the month of June and things that are pertaining to our men. What should we be aware of for this month?
My pleasure. My pleasure. I'm going to share my screen here if I'm able to get that on right now. And you just
Yes,
let
ma'am.
me know when it pops up on your side, because I'm quite able to tell over here. But again, thank you so much. It is just deeply an honor to be able to share with your viewers, your congregants, that kind of thing. I'm just delighted whenever we get an opportunity to bring vital information to the community. And so, of course, just like we've done in previous months, while we do have one main focus, there are several things that are going on in the month of June. So are you able to see my screen on your side now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. It's
So
perfect.
we want to just kind of bring awareness to a few things that's going on in the month of June, in addition to Men's Health Month. One of them is June 6th is National Cancer Survivors Day. So this is known all around the world, that you can actually take that day and celebrate survivors that you know. We like to tell people to just encourage them. These are, right now they're calling themselves not just survivors, but actually thrivers. So we like to acknowledge them as thriving survivors, and the courage that it takes for them to endure some of the things that they have to overcome when dealing with cancer. And not only the survivors themselves, but their loved ones, family and friends, all those who help to make that journey possible for them. So make sure that on that day that you guys acknowledge some of those people who have endured and survived, come through victoriously in those cancer diagnoses and treatment. So make sure you put that note on your calendar.
Sure will.
And also want to bring about just a little bit of information concerning this new initiative. This is actually something new that's being sponsored through the FDA, actually. The FDA's Oncology Center of Excellence. They are hosting what we're calling National Black Family Cancer Awareness Week. That's National Black Family Cancer Awareness Week. It's going to be held June 17th through the 23rd. Now, that is those dates are strategic in their purposes, because it's going to be held right around Juneteenth, the Juneteenth celebration. And this year, the theme is called Engaging the Generations. So what they're wanting us to do is really to spotlight and bring about much more awareness in the Black family regarding family history, participation in clinical trials, and just making sure that you are aware of your family history. We've talked about this numerous times before, how family history plays a part in the risk factors for so many different cancers. And so this year, they're really wanting to highlight just making sure you're having that conversation and engaging the generations. So they have called upon all types of community stakeholders throughout the world, not only here in America, but throughout the world, to bring about awareness and to make sure that you're having that family talk, that you're encouraging your friends and loved ones to get the screenings that they do need to be doing on a regular basis. And just to, sometimes that may be difficult. One of the things that we're working on is actually developing some tips. How do you start that conversation? Lady Pam, sometimes that's not something that people, want to talk about freely. You may have loved ones that may have had the same type of diagnosis, and they may not even be aware of it. So that's what this is all about. They're actually asking if you could utilize just a family reunion type theme when you're doing it. We have people in our actually that are employed with us. They are doing different things all over the state, throughout all of the different counties. They are hosting all types of outside events. Some of them are in conjunction with Juneteenth celebrations. Some of them are actually doing it like a family reunion type style, where they're doing something in the park and they have a station where they may address breast cancer, one station where they may address colorectal cancer. So just whatever, all types of innovative ideas. So we welcome you guys to contact us for more information regarding this. But again, that is called the National Black Family Cancer Awareness Week. That's June 17th through the 23rd. And again, that's sponsored through the FDA's Oncology Center of Excellence. And now for what we were going to talk about, unless you had any questions or anything on those things that I've shared so far.
No, this is great. This is good.
Okay, well, great. So we're going to move on to Men's Health Month. Of course, this is what we wanted to highlight during this segment. I know that we had the opportunity to talk about Women's Health Month on last month. So, there's always that running joke. I went to church with my mother, and they had a little brunch prepared. I went to church with my mother on Mother's Day, and a pastor said, well, we got you guys a few snacks out there, something to tide you over until you can get to the restaurant because you know the line's gonna be all out the door, for you moms. And but then, they have that joke where they have sometimes the people standing on the corner, well, come on in when it's Father's Day. But we know that is not the case. We love our men, we salute them. Hats off to the leadership. We're just so thankful for the great leadership that we do see in men. And for that reason, we want to encourage them to do what's necessary to take care of themselves and their health. We really just want to go ahead and salute those fathers ahead of time, as you did. We wish them happy Father's Day, but also in that same line with that theme of engaging the generations. We do realize that there are some risk factors that are involved. There are some screening guidelines that they need to take heed. And so for that reason, we want to just not be very long. We're just going to share some of the slides with you, but just want to encourage them to go ahead and do what's necessary to take care of themselves. Just wanted to mention Men's Health Month. Of course, that's in the month of June, but Men's Health Week, that always includes it. It's like the week leading into Father's Day and including Father's Day. We want to encourage those people, encourage the men to take part in being active and proactive in seeing about their health. So we are going to briefly, here's just some facts that I found when I was out doing some research, and this was just an infographic. Talks about, and you mentioned that men have been known to die earlier than women on an average of about 5 years earlier. And the men have a higher death rate in many chronic diseases, including cancer, heart disease, as you can see that. And then on the average, how many men they'll develop cancer and that kind of thing. But I found this to be interesting when it talked about men make half as many physician visits for prevention as women. So women, we got some work to do. Got to encourage those men to begin to get proactive with their health and their screenings. This is another little statement that I found, that these are the cancers that most often affect men. Lung, which is the #1 cancer killer of both men and women. So that's across the board. But then, of course, prostate, and then colorectal. That's the third most common cancer in both men and women in the U.S. And then you have, believe it or not, even skin cancer. There's a higher risk in men developing skin cancer than women. Not quite sure why that is, but there is a higher risk that has been diagnosed, recognized within men. So let's talk briefly about just lung cancer. Black men are about 15% more likely to develop lung cancer than white. And then there's about a 1 in 15 chance percent of developing lung cancer in men. So these are just some facts when you want to talk about just lung cancer. And also wanted to mention too, that you have, when you're looking at these kind of facts and everything, I always like to let people know we're not here just to try to give you all these stats of this is, what they said and this is how, but also to try to empower them to become more educated on what we can do to help to lower these statistics. So that's going to be vital. We want to let them know what we can do. And screening, of course, is one of those things that we can do. When you're talking about screening for lung cancer, there are a few things that you want to keep in mind. Some of the guidelines say that, they recommend screening for lung cancer, not just on just a regular basis where a woman goes and have a mammogram or something like that. But if you actually have a pack year, 20-pack year history or more, pack years are calculator if you smoke 2 packs of cigarettes a day for 10 years or more. So if you have a history of smoking to that extent, like with at least a 20-pack year history, that's indication you may want to go and have what we call a low-dose CT scan. If you smoke now, or if you quit within the past 15 years, these are some of the other indications. And also between the ages of 55 and 80, these are recommended ages for getting screened for lung cancer. And again, that's what we call the low-dose CT scan. The low-dose CT scan, that the CT is computed tomocals for cancer screening. And we want to recommend that they will go in. And often when you look at those age groups, the insurance oftentimes, and so that's why we want to recommend, we're always mindful of that, because your insurance, they may or may not cover right now. Some of the recommendation is changing. Sometimes the recommendations may change quicker than we can get those insurance company on board to recognize that. So we ask that you would make sure that you're speaking with your physician about it. And when you do that, oftentimes they may require a referral to have that done. So just keep these things in mind when you are going and getting those, asking for those referrals and that kind of thing. These are some things that you want to make sure that you have on your notes, just when you're wanting to go in and speak with your physician, just kind of already have these things documented so that you can make sure that you're asking your physician about these. So again, that's a low dose computed tomography scan. That's going to be your gold standard for lung cancer. So make sure that you have these notes already written down on your questions for your physician. Another one that we talked about is going to be colorectal cancer. So when you're dealing with colorectal cancer, of course, colorectal cancer is just cancer of the colon or rectum. And we believe that they develop gradually from polyps. That's why we have colorectal cancer as listed as one of the preventable cancers, because the polyps, although they are tiny growths, they're on the inner wall, but they can be precancerous growths that will continue to grow and then they'll form a tumor. However, you can remove those polyps and prevent colon cancer altogether. So this is another one of the cancers that men are affected by. And just as we mentioned a little bit earlier, that it's the third most common cancer diagnosed in both men and women, but then just some of the estimates for cases of colon cancer. For 2021, 104,000 of new cases of colon cancer, and then 43 on the rectal cancer. So just briefly want to go over some of these symptoms. And we won't be with you on these long today, but wanted to just bring out again, just kind of as a refresher, some of these areas that we've talked about before, but change in bowel habits, diarrhea or constipation, either one of these, just changing bowel habits, and feeling that you need to have a bowel movement, but it's not relieved when you do go. Bleeding from the rectum, or blood in the stool, those type things. These are just some of the symptoms. And always know that no one case is the same. So symptoms may vary. Some people don't have these same symptoms in these orders. Some people have more. So just don't ever, I know a lot of times people are prompted when they begin conversations, well, such and such happened this way and this happened that. Just understanding that every case can be different. Every case can be different. The unintended weight loss, that's not something that every person will experience. So, but these are some of the recognized symptoms, so that we want people to be aware of. The risk factor is the most common in men and women over 50. There again, you have those screening guidelines for your insurance purposes, keeping that in mind, which is a good thing, because there were some things lobbying and that kind of thing to make sure that you had people within that age category to be able to be covered for the colonoscopies. And if there's a family history, there again, we talked about that. But one of the other things that we want to talk about, especially when you're talking about men, because the diet has been recognized as a leading factor in men, not only in colorectal cancer, but in prostate cancer. They link diets high in red meat along with high incidence rates. So we just wanted to bring out some of these. And of course, those same ones that we talk about every month, the physical activity and tobacco and alcohol use. So here we're going to go over just some of these screening. Again, just the early detection, the screening age is recommended at 45 and continue to age 75. This is for your colonoscopy. And here's some of the screening options. We always like to let you know the gold standard is going to be the colonoscopy. Then you also have those fecal occult blood tests. You may see where they talk about just the fecal specimen cards, and they'll have you to do a sampling of stool and that kind of thing. But when you do those, we like to let people know that if they should find anything that's detected within, when you do those stool samplings and that kind of thing, you will still end up more than likely having to have a colonoscopy after that. So we really recommend that you go ahead and have a colonoscopy done. And here, we're going to move on just a minute, unless there was something else we wanted to discuss before we move on to prostate cancer. Does you have any?
I had a question. So what if um, your current physician says, well, you don't have to have that until you're 50? Because even last time I remember you saying 45. Is that, should we just get another doctor to say, hey, well, you don't have a history of it in your family. But what if your doctor says, well, you don't need that till you're 50? Do we keep
Well,
pushing with that position or go to another
absolutely.
doctor?
You have to be an advocate for yourself. We do recommend that. If you have a family history, and that's one of the things, people are at increased risk because of family history of colorectal cancer. So if you know that that runs in your family and you want to get screened a little bit earlier, in fact, we even recommend that. And in many cases, the insurance is not a problem when there's a family history of cancers, not only in this cancer, but even in others. If there's a family history of breast cancer, then the age will drop. If you drop it, instead of saying, well, you need to be 40 years old. But if there's a family history, then no, you can tell your doctor that. And in many, many cases, we found that no, there won't be any problem with your insurance paying for it. So definitely, yes, you want to be an advocate for yourself, and even with your insurance, because sometimes if they know that, hey, well, your insurance is going to take care of it anyway, there shouldn't really be any problem with that.
Gotcha. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, but definitely you want to move forward with if there's any family history or any of anything. Anytime you have something, higher risk factors that are involved, then you should not have that type of pushback. You want to get your screenings done.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, we're going to move on and talk about the prostate cancer. Of course, this is the most common cancer in men. Now, we talked about that lung cancer. That's the highest cancer rate, death rate of any cancers in both men and women. But when you talk about men in particular, then yeah, this is the most common one in men. And we want to just first of all make the statement, all men are at risk for prostate cancer. And we even say that you have some people to think, well, we have to make these type of determinations today, because regardless, if you still have the certain genitalia or the organs, even in women, if you still have a cervix, you still need to be getting screened for cervical cancer. You have some people who may be going through different types of transitioning and that kind of thing. We have to let them know, if you still have that organ, you need to get it screened. So if you have the prostate still intact, you need to be getting screened for your prostate cancer. And this risk, although all men are at risk, the risk can increase with age. So we want to make sure that they understand, as the men begin to get older, African American men, they still have the highest rate of prostate cancer. So you got the race and you got the age, which we know are risk factors that we can do nothing about. So we want to make sure that we are encouraging men, and particularly men of color, that they're getting this done. And just briefly, of course, the prostate is part of the male reproductive system. And like there again, the size of a walnut and normally increases in size along with your age. And that also, when you start talking about symptoms, you may hear some men talking about just the size of the prostate being swollen or something like that. So it's going to be important when you notice different changes. And we talked about before just basically what cancer is. If a person, you got cells all over your body, you fall down and you scrape your knee and you get a scratch on it. As it begins to heal and those cells come back, then, and it makes a scab, as we used to call it when we were kids, and it makes that scab to kind of help to promote in the healing process. Well, what happens is that cancer is when those cells lose the ability to know when to stop multiplying, and it's just uncontrolled growth of the cells. And so here, prostate cancer begins when the cells in the prostate begin to grow out of control. And I'm gonna so basically, how common is it? You know, which you have a room full of men, then the estimates that we've gone through on um, some of the other studies have shown that about 2 to 3 of the men in that room would die. However, 13 of those within there would receive that diagnosis or the incidence rate. So this is where we come to talk about the difference in mortality rates and incidence rates. And this is how common this is when you begin to talk about prostate cancer. Specifically, when you're talking about men of color, statistics have shown that African American men, they're diagnosed much more higher. They have the highest incidence rate of cancer of all races. And that rate is like 1 in 5 African American men. And that's really high. That's pretty high when you want to talk about other races. African American men are actually, they have stated twice as likely to die from prostate cancer than other men, specifically non-Hispanic white men. So when you're starting to talk about the symptoms of prostate cancer, you got urinary problems or their inability to pass urine. These are some of those things. Hard time with the starting or stopping or just the flow of the urine. So whenever you begin to notice these kind of things, these are things that you want to, we want the men to be aware of, and ladies, we want you to be aware of as well. You notice that they're getting up more frequently at night and that kind of thing, and difficulty having an erection, blood in the urine, and frequent pain. And that's something that they began to find out that we have done a few studies, and they are right now even conducting focus groups. And wanted to be able to have one of them to come when we made a couple of changes in our dates. But they've done some wonderful, wonderful focus groups where they have actually had these men to come in. They talk, it's led by men, with men, and they call it for men. And they have some wonderful discussions where they may even have a prostate cancer survivor to come in. And, you know, it's not uncommon when you start hearing men say, you know, their back's hurting or their hips hurting, or I cut the grass too long today or whatever. So they may seem like some common symptoms, but if you notice some of these symptoms along with some of these other ones as well, that may be a key indicator that you may want to get into that and get those checked. When we talk about the risk factors that you can change, of course, I'm going to start here with limiting the alcohol intake and the exercise. That's key. We talk about doing at least 150 minutes of moderate physical activity a week. And so that stands across the board in any of these cancers. Just diet and exercise is going to be key. But again, we mentioned about the rich in fiber and whole foods. Not quite sure what the link is at this point, but one of the things that we've noticed, they said that red meat, they asked that you would limit your red meat intake, men, and that plays a key part in helping with the diet aspect of lowering your risk factors. And of course, smoking. I want to get to you this leading thing. We talk about when African-American men, it talks about, I want to give you this right quote here, that when you have a man that's dealing with smoking and that kind of thing, especially with African-American men, you're going to increase your risk factor for any type of cancer. But specifically, I want to read you this quote here from 2012 to 2016. African-American men were 1.2 times and 1.7 times, respectively, more likely to have cases of prostate cancer as compared to non-Hispanic white men. So when you already have these higher rates that are involved, you definitely don't want to uh, raise that rate, because smoking will impact your likelihood of developing those cancers even more once you add that on top of those already higher rates that we have. And we just want to always encourage you again to do what you can do for those risk factors that you can change, because we always have these risk factors that you can do nothing about, that we've already shared with you about your age, your sex, your race, and or your family history. And this is just a statistic here that they were saying age is the number one risk factors in developing prostate cancer, because the risk increases with age. So as the men in your life are growing older, we want to make sure that they are talking with their doctor and having these checks that they need to have. And we've just recently talked about that. So we like to talk to the men and let them know that the American Cancer Society recommends that they do an annual check beginning at the age of 50 for persons of average risk. There again, that goes back to what you just said. But now, if you got someone, you got a close family history, what we call a first degree relative, that's age 45 for persons of an elevated risk. What's an elevated risk? You got men of color, African Americans, men with a first degree relative, that being a father, brother, or son, or and they have been diagnosed with prostate cancer earlier than the age of 65. These are some of those risk factors that you want to make sure that you keep in mind when you're talking about your screening. So definitely, if any of these things are going on, then we definitely want to make sure that you become an advocate for yourself, or ladies, you're an advocate for your spouse, your dad, your uncle, your whoever it is, and let them know, no, this is going on, and uncle whoever, and cousin so-and-so, and all of this. But when you have those first degree relatives like that, it's very important. And even as low as age 40 for some persons of higher risk who had a first degree relative that was not only diagnosed, but they died of that disease as well. Was there a question or something you wanted to bring out here?
Oh no, ma'am, this is good. I was going to ask you, and I just read it. What is considered a first degree relative? So I see
Right.
that it's a father,
The
brother, son.
father, brother, son. Right.
Okay, okay,
Right. And then just noticing the difference there, they're saying 45 if they were diagnosed, but it can be even as low as 40 if they died from
yeah, gotcha.
it.
Okay, wow.
Now, I want to talk about these two specific options, specifically the PSA test and the digital rectal exam. The PSA, that's a blood test. They'll do a blood draw, and they'll give you the rule for your PSA level, however, how much and how high that level is within the blood. So this one is becoming much more of and I don't even want to say the gold standard, is becoming much more of the more common one, because you also have this other one, the digital rectal exam. And of course, they just know, sometimes often they just don't want this one done. But whatever the case is, we just need the men to get in there and get these screenings done, so that they can stay healthy, and that they can be here to engage those conversations with their families. So the Dre test is, of course, when they insert the finger into the rectal area to do the test on the prostate, and just test if there are any growths or any unusual swelling and that kind of thing. And then this is, I don't want to say so much new, but it is newer of the other testing, and that's called the active surveillance or watchful waiting. And some people they are utilizing this with prostate cancer as a treatment. The watchful waiting is kind of just offering only treatment when and if they see changes in the cancer. And so I don't go very much into detail on this type of treatment, because it's really going to be something that they would have to speak with their physician on. But we just did want to at least put it out there. So if there was a case of diagnosis, that this may be something that they could recommend. And of course, there's, the radiation and the surgery, those type of treatment options are available for men as well. And, of course, like we said, oftentimes early detection is key. Early detection can save a life. And the earlier you are able to detect any type of cancer, of course, it opens up your treatment so much more. And that's why we would like to just have everybody to make sure that we're just encouraging the people in your lives to go and get those screenings done. So really, that's about it. We just like to make sure that we go back over those, understanding that for the colonoscopy, when we're talking about colorectal cancer, and make sure when we are talking about getting the low-dose CT for those that smoke and have that 20-pack year, and also if you're 55 years of age, that type of thing, we want to recommend that you do that. We have actually a couple of research projects that are going on. We would love to speak with people who fit any of these categories, and they can reach out to us for more information on it. They can contact us at coeinfo@uab.edu. Again, at coeinfo@uab.edu. And they can learn more about some of the projects that we have going on. Actually, we have partners throughout the state. And as you mentioned, we talked about before, while we don't necessarily have the screening through our office, we have partners that we are able to recommend to men to get the screenings done. Specifically, we partner with the Mike Sly Foundation. And so if there's a man in your life that that fits any of these high risk cases or scenarios, then we can actually refer them to get those screenings done and work out all of the details, and if they're underinsured or uninsured. So our friends and partners over at the Mike Sly Foundation would absolutely be available to help you in any of those scenarios. So I just wanted to just give you a few of those highlights for the month and make sure that we were able to get this information out to the men in your lives, and encourage them any way that we can, and to be of any assistance that we can.
Yes, ma'am. This was awesome. I mean, this was some great, great information. I want to piggyback on what you said about really knowing your family history. And sometimes, I mean, that is so key, because I was thinking about myself. So, we really have to maintain those relationships. Me, myself, I don't know my dad. I don't know. So I don't know anything that runs on his side. And so, what a disadvantage that we're giving some of our children, because we don't have a relationship with them, or won't talk to them and be open and honest and say, hey, this runs in our family. I had that conversation with my daughter, and that's just a personal moment. So, my mom, I told you before, developed breast cancer when she was, I think, 72. And
Right.
so, of course, I'm 48, so I've already been having my breast exams, my mammograms
That's
at age
excellent.
40.
Mhm.
But I told my daughter, who's, she's in her early 20s, I said, listen, make sure, you ask the doctor about, having a mammogram, because your grandmother got it at age 72. And so she received a text back from her doctor saying, you need to get it at 35.
Wow,
And
that is
so
wonderful.
this, yes,
Like
ma'am.
you're saying, having that conversation, just, and I'm saying just early detection, because if you had not told her, of course she wouldn't know to be able to tell her physician, who in turn says, oh, definitely, we'll lower your age to begin this. Because,
Right.
most healthcare professionals, I'm pretty sure, they're not necessarily going to try to push back on that when there is a identified need or identified risk factor such as that. So you're talking first degree relatives, you're talking mother, grandmother, aunt, and that kind of thing. So yeah, actually, that is a wonderful example of engaging the generation. So just what we were talking about with the National Black Family Cancer Awareness Week.
Mhm.
These are the kind of things that we want to talk about. Now, I know it's Men's Health Month, but actually, if you can engage the generations and begin to have those conversations, just such as that, and letting them know the importance of it, the importance. Now, I know And that goes vice versa. I'm gonna be very honest, because sometimes you may even find that the children, you need to get out and jog, or you need to get out and walk with me, or you need to get. So we got to be open as well, you know. So when they come to us saying, "Well, hey, you know, let's go out and ride bikes, or let's go out get that physical activity." I recently heard the statement, of course, that sitting is the new smoking. That's not a quote that we can say or anything. That's not necessarily something that's been certified, but it is a sedentary lifestyle has
Yeah.
really affected us much more than we know, you know, and the sitting before the computer all day with no activity and that kind of thing, yeah, it's having some great effects on our health. So we want to make sure that we counteract that by becoming more active.
Yeah. And I would also, and I'll ask you about this because I think it's important. We can tell, our male loved one to go to the doctor, but I think we should also just take them because sometimes it
Mhm.
just helps, just in general, for us not to go to the doctor by ourselves because maybe the other person next to you will, think of some questions to ask. Or, maybe they'll say, doctor, what about this or what about that? So I think Tom Joyner years ago had this "Take Your Loved One to the Doctor" day. I
Mhm.
think it's really important that we take them too. Take them, sit there, make sure they're getting all their tests done. And so, what are your thoughts on that as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think, when you have that type of relationship with someone that you can take them, yes, you definitely want to do that, because we would love to have willing participants, but if we know that we can get them there and they will go ahead, and sometimes, like what you were saying, just being an advocate for them, knowing the right questions. Sometimes you may get some of the males in our lives that may not know as much of the information. Say, like, right now, one of the things that we found out in the focus group is just how important it was to have those loved ones or caregivers in your life, like you're saying, that will actually take them, but also to speak on their behalf. Well, because not all men, when you're talking about something as delicate as prostate cancer, that kind of thing, they may or may not want to ask the questions. And we have one of the men that work with us. He's an awesome volunteer in the community. He just, oh my gosh, he puts his wife up there. He has the highest accolades and respect for her because he talks about what she did for him. He talks
Yeah.
about how she cared for him. She was there. She was his number one cheerleader, advocating for him. And it helps when you're able to have that type of support, regardless, but specifically for men when it comes to who may or may not know some of the frequently asked questions, or may or may not know um, how to approach their doctor with. And who may or may not talk with other members of the family. Like you said, it may sometimes be easier for a mother and a daughter to talk about it than it may be for, right, the uncle to the father, the grandfather, and that kind of thing. They may or may not have that same type of conversation. So definitely, I would recommend that, and do recommend that you guys would, if that's possible, and you got a willing participant to have someone to take you, please do so.
Yeah. And then you also mentioned about decreasing those risk factors. Already have the strikes against us, the age, the race, and so one thing I was thinking about is we had a Winning Wednesday last week, and we had a nutritionist talk about the Mediterranean diet, and the one thing she said, and made me think about what you just said, is reducing the red meat. She said, try to have less than three servings of red meat a month. So the steaks and the hamburgers. Try to limit those and increase more. Fish and fiber, stuff like that. So I thought that was really important that you said that on several slides. Reducing that high meat, that red meat in your diet.
Right, right. And
Yeah,
you're exactly right. The increase your fruits and your vegetables. And
yeah,
actually, according to the CDC, my plate is called my plate. They actually say that 2/3 of your plate should be fruits and vegetables. You need those leafy vegetables in your diet more so than the meat, you know. And I know we come from oftentimes that culture where you gotta have some meat. You gotta have what they call the steak and potatoes kind of people. And I understand that we have, but sometimes we just have to make these gradual steps that are gonna be what one of my friends actually made the statement to me. I was like, oh, I don't want to walk today. I'm so tired. I don't want to do. And
Yeah.
it was one of my friends. She said, girl, you better go ahead and make that deposit into yourself. And it just stuck with me. It's a deposit into myself, you know. So
Mhm,
we
mhm.
it is important. We just got to do the things that are going to make for the betterment of our lives, of our enriching our minds as well as our body. You know, we talk about being a three-part being: spirit, soul, and body. So we,
Yeah.
you know, we get in there. We do what we need to do to become intellectually better by educating ourselves. We do what we need to do on that spiritual basis to get our spiritual enlightenment, but we have definitely got to make that investment for our bodies as well. And definitely watching those risk factors that we can change because you already have some of those things that you can do nothing about. So any of those things that we can and can't say enough about the smoking. We talked about that last month, that the 1-800-QUIT line is available for those that may need some assistance with cessation classes, that kind of thing. But tobacco is a leading cause of death. And of course, it's involved in about 80% of cancers. And it is just something that we need to work on to definitely have someone that needs assistance with that. We want to definitely let them know that there's assistance available.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Miss Rochelle. This has just been awesome. Great information as always. You never disappoint us in this area. And so, just to recap, everybody, know your family history. Please, please, please get that conversation started with your family members, with your children. Tell your children, what diseases and what cancers run in your family. And when you go to the doctor, take somebody with you and make sure you tell the doctor everything, every little thing that you like, well, that's it's nothing. No, tell them that nothing. Tell them all that stuff as well.
Absolutely.
And so great information on just the types of cancers that are more prevalent in our men: the lung cancer, the prostate, colorectal. You talked about skin cancer as well. Those symptoms, those risk factors, all great information. And people, please do all you can to reduce those risk factors that Miss Rochelle talked about. We can't do anything about our age. Every year we just seem to have one more candle on our birthday cake. For some reason, it just gets there. And
Yeah.
so, we can't do anything about that. We can't do anything about the fact that we were born male or female. We can't do anything about our race, but we can do something about our diet.
Yes.
We can increase our exercise. We can do things about that. And so make sure, early detection is the key. Miss Rochelle talked about that. So the earlier you know something, the better it is, the bigger chances are for survival. So thank you, Miss Rochelle, for that. I'm going to go through just a couple of announcements for our BBC Worldwide family, and then I want you to come back at the end and just kind of sum it up. You can say anything else just to kind of summarize everything, and also to give that email information that you talked about. I'm going to give you an opportunity to do that as well. And so, of course, everyone, this is our year 2021. We are believing God that He is going to reconstruct everything in your life. So, along with your health. So, making sure you are reconstructing your health through diet, exercise, and going to the doctor. And then we are on YouTube. We are on YouTube as BHAM BC. We are on Facebook. We are on Twitter. And now, don't forget, we are now on Instagram under Dr. JHM the third. Doctor is DRJHM and it's 3 eyes. And so, of course, everyone, you can go back and listen to all of our past winning segments. We have some great ones the past month. And so make sure you go back and look on our Facebook pages and look at that as well. Don't forget, everyone, we have our BBC virtual hangouts. They are for everyone. And so, of course, we have our small groups that we just had on last week. We are in Life Healing Choices. So we are excited about that and that information. So if you need any healing from any habits, any hurts, any hangups, this small group is for you. You can contact myself, you can text, or you can email me at ladypam@tcowi for all of our virtual events. And then in the month of June, every first Sunday of the month at 10 a.m., we are having a drive up service, weather permitting. We are in the parking lot of the MLK Center at 529 43rd Street North here in Birmingham, Alabama. And then on June the 13th, on a Sunday, immediately after worship service, we are having our virtual business expo. Excited about that. So anybody can participate. If you have a business, if you provide a service, please let us know. You can actually tell about your product and your service on our different social media aspects, and it is free of charge. And then because it is Men's Awareness Month, we are having a Men's Awareness Summit with some of the best and brightest people that we could find to talk about different aspects of men. So we have Miss Larissa to talk about a man and her nutrition. We have Dr. Lawrence Murray, who is going to talk to us about a man and his mental health. Very important. Men go through so many things mentally and they like to sometimes stuff it down. Well, he's going to help you with all that. And then Nellie Harris, she is a Mary Kay consultant. She's going to talk about how to make sure y'all taking care of your skin and all the hygiene aspects. So she's going to do that. Dr. Tim Perry is going to talk about a man and his spirituality, because that is important as well. Shane Spells is going to talk about how to get a man and his finances together. And then Dr. Bishop Reed is going to really sum it all up and just really have a conversation with you men. So this is going to be on Saturday, June the 19th at 10 a.m., free of charge on all of our social media aspects. Remember, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and now on Instagram. And then the last thing we have in the month of June, we have our virtual ladies pajama party. This is a private event. You have to register. You got to sign up. But we're going to talk about how hair care is our self-care. So it's summertime, ladies. We got to get our hair right. We want to make sure that we're not drying our hair out. And so we have some great ladies who's going to talk about how to take care of our hair from the inside and out. So Miss Larissa is our nutritionist. She's going to talk about the foods that we eat. Miss Shannon is going to talk about just how we can take care of our hair, relaxed hair, natural hair, no matter what, no hair. If you got little hair, she's going to talk about all that. She is the owner of Shea Marie Hair Salon, and she has her own line of hair products. But she's going to talk about things that you have at home that you can help promote hair growth. And so make sure you sign up for that. It's June the 25th on a Friday at 7 o'clock p.m. So thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget our prayer room call is every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 6 a.m. That number is 515-604-9324, and the access code is 381179. Thank you for your continued support of how we continue to sponsor our 11 Compassion International Haiti children. So thank you so much for that, because your monies help provide their food, their medical supplies, emotional needs, educational needs, and their physical growth. And as always, guys, have an awesome week. Well, Miss Rochelle, we have come to the end of this segment, and just so sad it had to end. But this is, like I said again, wonderful information. You do such a great job just presenting everything. And so can you finish up? You can summarize anything you'd like to share. Also give us that email address again if people want more information. Can you do that, please?
Okay, absolutely. Again, thank you so much. It's always a joy and a pleasure. You're such a gracious hostess, and I appreciate the opportunity to share with you all. So I guess just to sum up our June Health Awareness Month, want to again remind you, encourage someone. June 6th, National Cancer Survivors Day. Send someone a tweet, or I'll be sharing a infographic with Lady Pam, and she can get that to you. So put that on someone's page that day. Pretty much everyone has had some type of touch with cancer, directly, indirectly, friend, family, neighbor, or someone. So just go and encourage someone that you know that's a survivor on June the 6th. Also want to again remind you about National Black Family Cancer Awareness Week. You'll probably be hearing more about that because this, like I said, is a new initiative through the FDA and the Oncology Center of Excellence. It's going to take place June 17th through the 23rd. So there may be, I know a lot of people are doing a lot of Juneteenth celebrations on June the 19th. So that will fall right in line with that week. Make sure you're having that conversation to engage the generations. Make sure that you're talking about the family history and that kind of thing. So wanted to just remind you about that. And of course, Men's Health Month. Just make sure you're getting those checks done, being aware of those commonly diagnosed cancers among men, but also not only cancer, but just some of the chronic illnesses such as heart disease, hypertension, and that kind of thing. Lower your salt. That diet is going to be so key because these are some of the things that we talked about that you can do. So making sure that we're getting some activity in. Just not being still. Let's just get up and get it moving around and have some just to increase the activity. I would say just increase the activity in your life more so than just we can't be couch potatoes anymore in that sedentary lifestyle. Everyone's saying that, hey, we're opening up and getting back out there. So yeah, let's just take advantage of these opportunities to get out there and get some vitamin D in, take in some of those sun rays. Not too much though, because we got to be mindful of the sunscreen and all of that kind of stuff as well. But I just want to encourage everyone with that. And again, happy Father's Day to all of the men. And if we can be of any assistance, again, just reach out to us at coeinfo@uab.edu and at coeinfo@uab.edu, or they can give us a call at 205-975-0004.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Miss Rochelle. We thank you for this segment, all of your great information. And so we will see you again. Thank you
Absolutely. Thank
and have a
you.
great week. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, you
Bye-bye.
too. Bye bye.